States, who's ready to go to war with Iran, apparently.
I'm ready to go to war for Iran.
I don't know this man. This man just showed up here at my co-host's podcast.
Yeah.
This is actually Abdul Salim.
Mm-hmm. Assalamu alaikum.
How you guys doing?
Is that racist? My God. That seems a little racist.
No.
Okay. Well, you're Muslim, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No,
you tell me.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good, man.
Yeah, no, I just decided to LARP today, dress up.
Yeah.
In honor of America going to war soon, I was like, you know what?
With the fucking commie badge.
Yeah, well, I gotta have I got my shoulder patch here.
USSR.
I got more on the way. I had to order some from this cool shop.
Oh my God. By the way, actually, this is a really good reference to point out that we actually just ordered our own badges.
Yeah, we have our patches, Revolutionary Rhetoric patches now.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to give these out for free. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're not really that big of a podcast to be making people
we don't want to
it.
charge people for something like that. Yeah.
And I think we have something like 10 or something like that.
Just 10 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 8 after you and I take one.
Yes. Something like that. So we're going to make some rules. If you want one of these badges, we will ship it out to you. Mm-hmm. IP box, obviously. Shoot us an email out to Revolutionary Rhetoric if you want one.
Yeah, revolutionaryrhetoric@gmail.com.
Make sure you follow us. So we want proof you're following us on
Instagram. Screenshot of some kind.
Yeah, a screenshot that you're following us on Instagram or TikTok, one or the other. Mm-hmm. And that you're following us, that you subscribe to us on YouTube. And then you don't even have to say your name. Don't say anything.
If you have like a PO box or something, or just ship it to your mom's house if you're not comfortable giving a stranger your address online.
Absolutely.
If you want to kind of keep your OPSEC tight, that's fine. Just give us your sister's address, or your mom's address, or whatever.
Yeah,
and your conservative uncle's address, and then that way we'll give you the tracking, and that way you can just show up on the day it's surprise your conservative uncle on the day it arrives, and that way he'll never know.
Absolutely, yeah. And so the first 8 people or however many badges we have left, ask for them. We will send them out. You know, and if you really want to be a big fan, you could take a picture and post it on Instagram.
Yeah, tag us on Instagram. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Or whatever social media you use. So
I haven't even seen them yet. Kanan now for like 3 weeks in a row has forgot to bring them over.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
So I have yet to
I will bring it next time. I will bring it next time.
I'll believe it when I see it. All right.
All right. I'll bring it next time.
Also, I want to put a little disclaimer up the top. This is a really dumb way to hold like a plate carrier, and a dumb way to store a gun on a plate carrier. Just like this is a real gun. Please keep in mind, internet. I know I'm flagging myself, but it is completely
legal.
Empty. It's a legal firearm. It is not loaded. Empty mag. Empty chamber.
Do not keep your guns loaded.
Well, you should definitely keep your guns loaded, but you should
not in this type of instance.
Not in this suit, like when I'm silly LARPing and I'm just randomly attaching the gun to whatever strap I can find. That's a dumb thing to do. So don't do this.
Absolutely.
At home. This is just for the lulz. Actually, I don't need this anymore. I'm also gonna get rid of this first aid kit here. Lighten up the load a little bit.
Yeah, who needs first aid anyways?
Who needs first aid?
Yeah,
I still have my tourniquet in my little dangle pouch here. I got a cat tourniquet here.
God damn, he's got everything, guys.
This is a real. I would like to just point out. Tourniquets bungee to the bottom here. This is a real cat tourniquet. This is a real plate carrier.
The whole thing is real, guys. He's LARPing, but he's LARPing with the real stuff.
LARPing with real gear. These are level 4 ballistic plates. These will stop anything up to armor piercing like 30 cal like hunting rounds. They'll definitely stop any pistol round. And they'll stop most rifle rounds. These are level 4 ballistic plates. It's heavy as shit.
Yeah.
I'm training with my actual plate carrier. I'm getting more into like training. I'm going to the range on early next week. I'm going to start working out my trigger fingers again. Yeah. Also, this Glock is also unloaded too. I should just.
That was a nice sound. Put it on the microphone. Do that on the microphone.
Some ASR.
Ooh.
Empty mag. Empty chamber. This is my Glock 17. This is my first pistol I ever got. Nice. I lost my little push to talk here. My little ham radio. Roger. Delta. Copy. Out. Over now. I'm LARPing pretty hard these days.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Anyways, guys, we have a few things we want to talk about today. First is the inevitable World War III we might just enter in, including we might use tactical nukes. All praise Emperor Trump.
Is there a reality where Israel doesn't use some kind of like if not nuke, like an actual like tactical like heavy airstrike on Tehran or some kind of like.
Well, let's start on this conversation.
Yeah, if we're going to talk about it, let's just talk about it. Because they've been trading Iran and Israel have been trading strikes back and forth for, 5 days now? As of time of recording, it's Thursday, June 19th. I think it's been about 4 or 5 days.
Well, I've heard that with the White House and the the Department of Defense, with Trump having a meeting with Trump, they're basically talking about that nothing is off the table. And somebody out there, I forgot what journal it was, but they claimed that they talked to a high official in the White House, and the person said that tactical nukes are not on the table and that they're not going to use tactical nukes. And somebody from the White House actually came out and said, that is not true.
That's not true.
Nothing is off the table right now.
Yeah, I think I saw that quote. Nothing's off the table.
And I was like, oh my God. And so they're talking about there's like instances of Iran's bunkers where they're holding a lot of like ammunition, missiles, military bases. They're like 80 feet under the ground, 80 meters or 80 feet. I can't remember which was which. And so they're saying that bunker busters are not going to be strong enough to physically take it out, right?
Yeah.
And so they're saying that they want to do bunker busters, and then once it's deep enough, they want to launch a tactical nuke. Yeah, this is just what I've heard.
Obviously, I have some quotes here. I have some kind of this is from a CNN article. It's just kind of like a rough timeline. Well, just a couple points to clarify. One, Trump has said that he's going to allow like it's I don't know, just the way he talks is frustrating. He's going to allow 2 weeks for diplomacy to proceed before deciding whether or not to launch an American-led strike in Iran. And then a powerful Iran-backed militia in Iraq vowed to attack U.S. military bases in the region if Trump decides to enter the region. So Iraq has said, or these militias in Iraq has said that if America enters and attacks Iran, then Iraq will attack military bases in Iraq. And this is, if you're familiar with history, or if you're a student of history, this is kind of like, this is that domino effect of these countries kind of getting involved. And this is like, people are genuinely somewhat concerned about World War III because this is kind of the way it goes. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It does. And, with thinking about it, there's like points where there's something is like a regional war.
Yeah.
Was it Operational Desert Storm or whatever?
Yeah,
there was like multiple
90s,
countries, invading Iraq and Kuwait.
Yeah, Iraq invaded Kuwait, so America invaded Iraq.
Yeah, but this is like two sides with multiple countries stating they will attack the U.S. and U.S. bases. Well, not the U.S. physically, like the physical land, who knows? But
but U.S. bases are considered U.S. territory in foreign countries. Yeah.
So don't think that you're going to have missiles, looming over Atlanta. That's not realistic. However, Iran and Iraq combining together to fight and blow up American military bases and sending missiles and other sort of artillery over to Israel, that is definitely a spark that can literally start a world war.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, this is pretty serious stuff. Like, this isn't like, I don't know. It's always like this looming threat of like World War III, depending because of Russia and Ukraine, and then Israel and Gaza has let like not as much influence on the larger world, just because of Palestine and Gazans are so like oppressed to begin with. It's not like they have a lot of like political like capital to kind of throw their weight around, but Iran does, and this is like, Iran has allies, and Iran has a pretty competent military, air force. I don't think they have a navy. I'm not sure. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. But here's another quote from Israel, and this is a little kind of more concerning. This is from Netanyahu and Israel's defense minister, who I don't know because the other one got Lev, whatever. He got ousted, right? The previous defense minister, or Yoav Gallant.
Yeah,
he's gone. I forgot. I don't know the name of the new guy. Anyway, he says no one in Iran should have immunity, end quote. That's Netanyahu's quote about just people in Iran, including and up to and including the Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And the defense minister says he cannot, quote, be continued to exist, end quote. So like they're almost certainly going to attempt an assassination on the Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, which would absolutely like outrage not only just like Arab countries, but that's a religious figure as well. So like now you're talking about like Muslims the world over, or at least
Yemen, if it would certainly be like, okay, this is actual full war, right? Hezbollah immediately. So I mean, you have and then Iraq. So you have like 3 countries.
I think that would be a tactically bad decision for Iraq to make, or for Israel to make, if they were to assassinate the Ayatollah in Iran.
How many? I don't know. It's like that Trump's tweet at like 2 fucking a.m. He's probably shitting on the goddamn toilet and just buzzed out of his mind on whatever.
His name is Israel Katz, the defense minister, the current guy. Katz.
Interesting.
His name is Israel Katz.
Israel Katz.
Israel Katz.
Imagine the guy named America Dogs.
America Dogs.
Yeah. Anyways, sitting at 2 a.m. saying people in Tehran, need to evacuate. Yeah. This is a city of 10 million people. You're causing mass hysteria.
Yeah. Although there's a CNN reporter on the ground and
what the fuck is going on? All right, sorry guys, some technical difficulties. The camera keeps just turning off for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Remember
lost my train of thought.
Where we left off here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do we leave off?
Let's find our place again. I don't know. Ultimately, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Oh, that's what I was going to say. There was a reporter from CNN on the ground at Tehran, and he says the streets are empty. And this is another thing too. I want to talk about media a little bit. It says the streets are empty and of people. There's people are still in the city. They haven't evacuated, but there's just there's not a lot of foot traffic or literal traffic in Tehran because of the constant airstrikes. He says all you can hear is just thuds and explosions and just the sounds of anti-aircraft from Iran's anti-aircraft launchers going off constantly. And you're not really seeing the news about that. Only thing I see is on mainstream news in particular is the sporadic once a day a report like there was today all over the news of a hospital in Israel was struck. And 20-something people were killed, I think.
And then fucking Netanyahu came out and he was like,
"These monsters."
Yeah,
it's like as if Israel didn't just destroy all 21 hospitals in Gaza or whatever, or 14 hospitals.
How do you not see the hypocrisy?
How do you not see the hypocrisy? I don't. Well, because he has no soul and he's.
Yeah, but how do people that supported Israel up to that point?
Because they also have no soul. Because if you're still supporting Israel at this point, 3 years into a genocide, then you're a Nazi. That's it. I mean, you would have supported Nazis, or you would have supported slaveholders or whatever, right? If you're still supporting Israel at this point, I can't help you. May God have mercy on your soul. I don't know, but
if there is a heaven, you ain't going. That's all I'm fucking saying.
Right.
Dog.
So that's kind of what the what people have been saying is or what I've been seeing and what I was thinking about is there's nobody on the streets of Tehran because of the constant bombardment, and all we're seeing is every couple of days one bomb or one missile strike somewhere in Israel, and it's pearl clutching and all this, heaven forbid. Meanwhile, Israel is just bombarding the fuck out of Iran. To say nothing of the another 50 Palestinians were killed every day since this began, or 50 plus, right? That genocide is still going on. So this is almost just a distraction from that genocide, and it's just been very frustrating and disingenuous to see all of the mainstream media kind of treat this as Israel with kid gloves of Iran struck back, so now it's oh no, they struck back. What pearl clutching and heavens to Betsy, what are we gonna do? Yeah. And it's
they literally targeted for no reason.
Yeah.
It's we got to destroy their nuclear facilities or whatever the fucking reasoning was.
First of all, so here's thank you for bringing that up, because this is just 2001 all over again of Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction. We got to raid Iraq to take all the. First of all, Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, but also even if they did, who cares? Because Israel and America both also do.
Israel illegally has.
Yeah, Israel has their own illegal nuclear weapons program. So if Iran does, who cares? I don't care if Iran. Signed? Yeah, the non-proliferation. Also, not for nothing, but what was it? Israel and America pulled out of the nuclear talks for Iran.
Yes. Yes, this is under Trump.
Yeah, Iran was willing to come to the table and talk about this, and then America pulled out, and then now they're turning around saying, "Well, you didn't want to negotiate," and they're motherfuckers. You didn't what? And it's just gaslighting of the highest order. It's just hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. It's just insanity. And it's just we're living in some bizarre world. It's very frustrating to have a brain and watch this shit go down.
Absolutely. And you have to remember, I don't know if people remember even back 5 years ago, because people are so fucking brain broken from COVID and everything else. When Trump initially pulled out of the agreement, Iran just kept going, following the nuclear agreement that was set in place, even though it didn't exist, just to show to all the other European countries and all the other countries on earth is listen, these guys are the crazy guys. We're going to keep following this until he gets out of office, and we'll start it again. And Biden's Trump should have never done that. When I get back in office, it was a campaign promise. We are going to reinstate this nuclear agreement back with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, gets into office, does not do it. Does not do it. It would have been the easiest fucking signature. We met with the Iranian officials. We have restated the agreement, and we're back on par. And Iran was following the whole time to a fucking T.
Yep.
Right. There's never been the most like in-depth fucking search and like quality control of nuclear facilities than with Iran.
Yeah.
Random ones. They come in randomly. They fucking go in and they fucking search the area. It looks like they're, up to code and everything. They followed it to a T. And then Biden didn't go back in. And I think at that point, when Trump came back in, they're like, fuck this. We might as well make nukes.
Yeah.
We might as well make nukes. I mean, look at North Korea. North Korea made nuclear missiles, and nobody's ever talking about invading North Korea anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And they'll say the problem is that North Korea doesn't have like a local Israel that's just like a psychopath willing to like start shit.
Yeah.
Like South Korea would never actually like step up and do anything to North Korea, despite all the talks, or whatever. There is no. Israel is a rogue state. Israel is like a violent rogue state that is like a danger to its neighbors, that has invaded and bombed and just indiscriminately killed civilians and led a genocide.
It's a danger to humanity.
It's like they are completely a danger to humanity.
It's a walking war crime.
Yeah, it's just like I don't understand how anybody can just be like, look at Israel and take them seriously as a country or as like anything other than just like mass murdering psychopaths.
Absolutely.
As the country. The entity of Israel, the state of Israel.
And it's not like, the Israelis don't agree. Like, if you look at these polls, it's like 70 to 80% of Israelis think we should keep on doing what we're doing to Gaza. And the other 20%, maybe like 15% of them are like, we should either tone it down
like
or go back to
gas a little bit.
Or go back to how it was.
Yeah.
And then you have 5% that's like, this state is like not even a real state. What are we doing?
It's a super minority. And like, all of these Iranian strikes that are happening in Israel has once again brought out so much hypocrisy of the like settler colonial state that is Israel, because there's so many interviews of people like in the subways and like bunkers and whatever in Israel, and then like, this is too much, I'm going back to my house in Manhattan, or I'm going back home to Philadelphia, or I'm going back home to LA. And it's like, that's how you know you're not indigenous to that place. It's because you're from LA and like you could just go home to New York, and like you are a settler, you have uprooted yourself, your home in New York, to go colonize an Arab country to take it over. And then when things get tough, you're like, well, I got to go back to New York. And it's
Absolutely.
like, well, that's all the proof you need to know that this isn't a real people.
I mean, they'll fuck each other over in Israel.
Yeah, did you see that footage of them like locking people out of bunkers and shit?
I was literally about to say that. It's like, so there's like a fucking bunker, there's missiles going down, some Israeli settlers go into the bunker, and they're like, we don't want it too crowded in here.
So
and
they locking people out, and they're like laughing as they did it, dude.
Yeah, they're laughing
psychopaths.
as there's other people outside.
Yeah.
As there's other people, other Israelis, mind you, outside while there is a fucking missile raid, right? And they're like laughing about it. And I'm just like, these people are just psychopaths.
They're just evil people. And
Jesus Christ. And they're just like, you normally want to look at a society and be like, well, you got to judge everybody by individual basis. MLK, I don't judge you by your color or whatever, by the creed of your character, And so, but it's like, no, dude, this entire society is bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I can only say so many Israelis are like, have a moral standing of any sort.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the Confederacy in like the American Civil War. It's like the society itself is built on land theft and is built on genocide and is built on colonization. Like so it's not like a few bad eggs or a few bad actors, whatever. It's like their entire system, their government, their entire history as a country, which is only 70 years old, less than 70 years old, is based on these ideas of like violence and land theft and like racism and Zionism.
Absolutely.
And so like, yeah, obviously like that's their culture.
Yeah. And another one would be like Afrikaners. Like white Afrikaners.
Right, yeah, that would just be another good example. Pre-91 or whatever, 92.
Even now.
Well, yeah, because like, but certainly prior to
10% of the population in South Africa is white, right? But they own 90% of the land.
Yep.
They still own 90% of the land, so they still own the majority of the wealth. Even though Black President, Mandela, all these things, they still gave them time. They still give them, they're like, we're not going to actually take your land. And they still go and cry wolf about there's a white fucking genocide in South Africa and they're going to steal all of our land and our farms and stuff like that. Except it's just simply never fucking happened. Yeah. It's never happened. It's a lie. And, at a time where there's a huge refugee crisis around the world, with multiple things, whether it be Ukraine, the Israel-Palestine genocide, whether it be, in Sudan, what's going on, Congo, they turn around and be like, no, the only immigrants that we're going to take in, the only refugees we're going to take in are these white Afrikaners that have a fucking silver spoon stuck up their goddamn ass.
Actual psychopath behavior, dude. It's just wild. I don't know. I don't understand it. And it's just, we are living in the dumbest, darkest timeline. And I hate it so much. I hate it here.
Absolutely. So what do you think, though? How do you think this is really going to fold out?
I can't. So I don't want to be like a doomer, like, doom-pilled or whatever you call it. Super pessimistic about it, but I just can't imagine a scenario where Israel will ever back down. Like Israel will ever like concede, because they can't. They have this like this bulldog style of posturing and of like acting where like they can't ever show weakness, and that's part of their actual like doctrine. It's part of their like military doctrine. It's part of their like political doctrine. Is like if you show weakness in front of Arab countries, they'll take advantage of you. And so that's like part of their like mantra. That's just part of their national identity, is like to just be aggressive. There's no such thing as defense, it's only offense. And so like I can't picture a reality where they would like scale back or concede or give any kind of concession. Only thing they'll accept is an all-out surrender, or like, you know what I mean, or they like terms that are like so super agreeable to them. So like, and I guess so that puts all the onus on Iran to like be the bigger person here. And
they have many times. How many times?
Yeah, they have, and they have repeatedly, right?
Have a major generals or whatever commanders assassinated, and they just didn't.
They didn't do anything. Yeah, we were talking about this last year. Like in Iran, was it in Yemen or Libya, where the funeral of one of the Palestinian. I forget the timeline. But you remember that last year. Anyway, the point is that I don't know. Was it Qatar?
I don't know.
I don't remember. We'll look it up. But I just can't imagine a scenario where Israel will like come to the negotiation talks and like willing to negotiate and willing to offer concessions. So that leads to, is it going to lead to an actual ground invasion of Iran? Probably not. I would imagine the U.S. are going to commit some strikes. I think I can definitely see a U.S. striking Iran. Israel continuing to strike Iran continuing to strike Israel back, and then if the Iraqi militia that kind of mentioned that holds up to what they said, they attack military bases, we get involved in a quagmire in Iraq again, possibly neighboring countries in Iraq. I would imagine that Hezbollah and the Houthis will step up their game in solidarity with Iran, Iraq, and surrounding countries. Yemen, Syria might throw some weight behind it. I don't know. It's impossible to tell. I'm not an expert on like all of the alliances and like the true like relationships between all of these countries. Like I don't know how close Syria, Yemen, Libya, not Libya, sorry, Lebanon, thank you, Iraq. I don't know how close they all are. You know what I mean? In terms of who's really like got each other's backs.
Yeah. There is a scenario where the US doesn't enter, right?
That's fair. That's fair too.
And the US just goes, sorry, can't do it, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's like we went through the whole the whole process with the Iraq War and Iraq. Like people were like, this is a fake war. It was built on a fake scenario. We got duped, and the majority of Americans, veterans, even Republicans, are like, that was a bad war. That should have never happened.
Almost universally, even Trump recognizes that, and that was one of the things Trump campaigned on both in 2016 and again in 2024.
Except the tactics he's using is literally the same fucking.
It's exactly the same, but everyone knows that. Yes, you're right.
If we tried to go to war with Iran, there is the possibility there's just this major uprising, a protest we've never fucking seen before.
Yeah, like the what was it in 2011? Like the whole like
Wall
Arab,
Street?
the
Arab uprising.
The Arab uprising. In Egypt and around the world. Something like that. Like so, I think this like Arab and Muslim kind of.
I think it's just in America. Just the people in America. No, I mean, like, no, obviously it's going to be everywhere.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, what would happen to the people in America? Obviously, see that this is a fucking scam. We don't want to go to war with Iran. No more war.
Yeah.
A lot of conservatives don't want war, right? And so, if we do, like, we're going to go to war with Iran, I can see, like, the biggest protests that ever happened in American history upload, and there would be just fucking riots. Like, there's so many scenarios to it, right?
That would be the kickoff to like the 1917 style revolution. You think is that our end? Is that the segue? That's the end.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I don't think we're quite there yet. I think that could be the trigger to start the process.
Yeah,
I still think we're a few years down that road if it ever happens. But I don't see the U.S. actually doing anything.
Yeah,
because if there is actual U.S. intervention, like major U.S. intervention. I'm not talking about sending arms or sending more bullets or crazy fucking weapons.
But actually,
I'm talking about
another
like,
Iraq style and Afghanistan style invasion.
I'm talking about like there's bases in the Iraq that sends off missiles into Iran. I think that would be. Hey,
fuck, dude.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what the fuck is going on today, but one of our cameras just fucking blacked out pretty much. So we're going back to one camera here. As we were talking about, there'll be full uprisings, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So if there might not be a world war, I think we could possibly like protest so much. They're like, okay, maybe we back off. There's that possibility. I'm just pointing out all the scenarios that could happen.
I would counter that with, and this is a good segue to the No Kings protest that happened last Saturday, the 14th. That was, I think, one of the biggest protests America's ever seen. Certainly one of the biggest protests most cities have ever seen. There was something, I think, approximately 70,000 people marched in the city of Seattle. Biggest protest in Seattle history. And most cities had, by and large, they were peaceful protests, and they were some of the biggest protests America has ever seen in every major city for this whole No Kings Day. It was on the 250th anniversary of the Army, and it was the... it was also happened to coincidentally be Trump's birthday.
Oh my god.
So he held that military
parade.
parade.
No King's Day or whatever.
Yeah, so that was the whole No King's Day. And I went. I was there downtown in Seattle. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to go see. So I got kind of like geared up, ready for like a little spicy action, because there's been a lot of anti-ICE protests, which we should talk about later too. There's been a lot of like anti-ICE protests that have gotten a little spicy. There's been quite a few arrests in Seattle. There's been, tear gas and rubber bullets and pepper sprays back and forth, whatever. So I went down there kind of expecting that. I went and I was wearing my blackout gear. I had my mask. I had my goggles. I had a first aid kit. I had meat sticks.
So you didn't wear this?
I didn't wear. No. I wouldn't wear this to a liberal protest. Yeah, I wouldn't scare. I wouldn't want to scare the libs. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't recommend looking this militarized to any protest. You shouldn't look like this to any American protest or any protest, because it's just antagonistic, and it's not a good look. And I don't really care so much about optics, but you also don't want to look like the guy who's gonna do the thing. Yeah. You want to be able to do the thing and have no one know you've done it, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that you should never open carry a gun. You should never open carry a firearm. Yes. You should always carry a firearm, but it should always be concealed. So get your concealed weapons permit if you need to in your state. Some states don't require them, but Washington does. Go if you live in Washington, get your weapons permit. Always have a weapon on you, but nobody should ever know. You should always be inconspicuous, and you should always be low key, nonchalant, as the kids say. Yeah. And if you ever need it, then it's there. But you don't ever want to look like this. You don't ever want to look like you're the guy who everyone's like, "Oh, that guy's got a gun." Yeah, that's a dumb way to live.
Absolutely.
Anyway, my point to this whole thing is that was the biggest protest, or one of the biggest protests America had ever seen. Fuck all was accomplished. Absolutely zero was accomplished. 70,000 libs in Seattle went downtown, walked a mile for a couple blocks, and then went home. And I know because I was there. I didn't even see police there when I was there. That's how tame this was. And if you have,
well, it was a registered one.
It was a totally registered. This was the one that we talked about. Oh, we actually didn't, because that episode hasn't been released yet. But on the next episode that's coming out, we talk about this protest a little bit, and we talk about how it's funded in large part to the Walmart heiress, the one of the daughters of the Walton family dynasty. She's the one who is backing this protest. So it's this is a completely paid. And so I don't know. I went, and I was kind of talking to you about it. There were people there with signs that were and I'm sure if you've on any kind of social media, you've seen some of the images coming out of this protest, and the libs are just patting themselves on the back for this protest, and it's I'm just you guys, this changed nothing. This changed absolutely nothing. It did nothing. Trump didn't even notice it was happening. Yeah. Why are you patting yourselves on the back? Now, if you had taken those 70,000 people, marched to the local National Guard station and armed yourselves, and then taken the Capitol, or then taken to the ICE detainment center and freed all the detainees, real John Brown that shit, then that would have accomplished something, and I'd be applauding you. But you didn't do that. You just walked in a circle and then went home. And I want to say, I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying that if you were to do that, then something would be accomplished. Take that how you will. But nothing will be accomplished until that's something that you do. There were 70,000 people, give or take. That's what the news is saying. That is a massive force. There is no police agency, sheriff, military, ICE, whatever in Seattle that could defend themselves against 70,000
No, absolutely
marchers.
not.
If you march
Absolutely
your way
not.
and you just barrel through,
But they're not worried about it when you're walking around with the fucking portrait of Hillary Clinton.
There were signs of Hillary Clinton. There were all the signs of like, oh, I should be at brunch right now or whatever. And it was just like the most lib-coded thing I've ever seen. And I was so frustrated there. I left early. Like I was in the march and I was just walking around and they were just chanting like no justice, no peace, whatever. Which like it's fine. That's a fine channel. I'm not talking shit about that. But it's just like I came here to throw down with police and like that's not happening. You know what I mean? I'm going I went and I got some Dick's hamburgers and I went home. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm gonna go like home. I'm gonna go hang out with my dog. This is useless.
Go play some Call of Duty.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play some fucking Call of Duty, dude. It was like I don't know. It was just such a waste of time. And like, you know, there are actual protests that are happening in downtown in Cal Anderson that are like anti-ICE and anti-war and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are worth going to because those actually like have a message. Saying like again, I hate this. I just hate anti-Trump messaging. If you're just anti-Trump but you're still pro-Biden or pro-Harris, then you're not really anti-Trump and you're not really pro anything.
Yeah.
You're not pro the future. And that was the really frustrating part is there was like at the park where everyone staged before the march, there were some speakers there. And I don't like one of them was like a local councilwoman and one of them was like one of the No Kings, like organizer, whatever. Anyway, they're just ideologically incoherent because the speech they were talking about was like, you know, class consciousness and like unions and stuff, but then like democracy and like supporting progressive candidates and stuff. And it's like those two things are fundamentally opposed to one another. If you support Democratic candidates, you are not supporting unions or class consciousness.
Yeah.
If you support unionizing and class consciousness, you cannot support a Democratic candidate.
Yes.
Those two things are completely mutually exclusive.
I do have to say is like there are a lot of progressive candidates that would be a fine choice to like vote for if there's no other. There's no
sometimes
other options,
sure.
Right? For example, like in the this is just an example for the mayor race in New York, right?
Oh, so
you have Cuomo, and then you have
Zovan or whatever his name is.
Mohan,
yeah. I don't know.
I can't remember. I'll put his name right here.
You should put that little clip of like how many times you've been to Israel, how many times you've been to Israel, or like what's your plan with Israel, or what was the question? What's the first thing you're gonna do when if you were to be office? Have you seen this?
No.
It was I think it was the Democratic debate, and it was like 6 or 7 guys up on stage or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was, I forget how the question was phrased, but it's like, what's the first thing you would do when you take office? And it was like, I'd fly to Israel and like see what kind of aid. I'd fly to Israel, see what kind of aid. I'd fly to Israel, see what kind of aid. Fly to Israel, see what kind of aid. And then the final, when they got to him, he was just like, well, I wouldn't go to Israel because I'd be elected mayor of New York, and my like responsibility is the people of New York, so I would stay here and find out what New York needs. And that was his answer. Yeah. And I was just like, that's a good fucking answer.
Yeah. The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Would you visit Israel? As mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
Yeah. I forget how it was phrased, why every one of them said they would go to Israel as mayor of New York.
And so what I'm saying is, like, when you have local things like that, yes, please vote that guy in, right? Because he did say...
Sure,
like,
if you want. I've gotten sour on that. Like, I no longer support any type of, like, bourgeois
He calls himself a socialist,
elections.
right? But he is pushing for universal child care, and that's one of his biggest things, universal child care, and many things
there are
like
small
that,
things like that which will help, but that will, once again, still just prolong capitalism, because he is not an anti-capitalist. So what good is he if he's not an anti-capitalist? He is part of the problem.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of where I've like turned on like any type of bourgeois electoral election.
Absolutely.
I'm like, no, I'm over it.
But
unless you are
Democratic candidates in general, 99% of them fucking throw them off the cliff, right? I'm not saying throw them cliff, but what I'm saying is like 1% of them, I'm sure they're not horrible human beings.
Yeah, I'm sure they would do some small things for your community, like local propositions and stuff in your community. I'm not saying don't vote, sure, whatever.
But all we're saying is it's like not really going to do anything.
But also recognize that if you are supporting Democratic candidates that are not anti-capitalist, you are actively working against the working class.
Yes.
You are working against unionizing. You are working against like black and trans like healthcare and rights. And I know that like that politician may say that they're for black and trans healthcare, but they are not, because they're a Democrat. Because capitalism is anti-trans, capitalism is anti-black, capitalism is anti-working. class. And if these people are pro-capitalism, then they are fundamentally opposed to
Yes,
those things.
absolutely.
You cannot be both. And like, it's
Absolutely.
really important for people to understand that. And liberals just fundamentally don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most frustrating part of that No Kings, is it was just completely ideologically, it was just babble. It was just, they were
Yeah.
toddlers. Ideologically, they were toddlers.
Yeah,
They were talking about working class and then talking about like, and then one of them was like, it was Father's Day. That was that Sunday, the next day. So where was my progressive papas and my democracy daddies or whatever? And it's like everyone cheered, all the dads cheered, all just the liberal dads. And I'm just like, you guys, this is why we're losing.
That's gonna solve fucking homelessness.
And like, this
That's
is why
gonna
the
solve all
Republicans
the-
are winning for what it's
Yeah.
worth. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh my god, man!
So-
throw them off the cliff too.
So to your point, throw them off all. Throw everybody off the cliff. To your point, everyone
Throw
in
me
the
off the cliff.
Throw them all in the gulag, man. Stalin did nothing wrong. So to your point is like, if there is like some big military action and there is these massive protests, would that do anything? That depends. That depends on if you go to Harper's Ferry and, you know, take all the guns, the John Brown style, and then do something with that, or the march on, even just like the march on Bastille, like that was a march on Armory, which kicked off the French Revolution, right? Like these things, that's what you need to do to accomplish something. Just walking in a circle and then going back to your home isn't actually going to accomplish anything. So just keep that in mind if you're going out for a protest. If you actually want something to accomplish, you actually have to do something. Walking in a circle is not doing anything.
They don't give a fuck about your protest, dog.
Yeah.
They
If
don't fuck
they
about your
gave you a
protest.
permit to be there, they do not care about your your
Exactly.
protest won't accomplish anything.
No.
So first of all, stop getting permits. Just show up. And then when the police show up, fight the police. And then win from the police. Like push them back them down. There is so many videos coming out of LA and all of these big cities of like people pushing back the police, people winning these wars. Like they're going up against like ranks of riot shields and then ranks of like people with umbrellas and stuff. And the people with the umbrellas are winning because you outnumber them 1,000 to 1.
Yeah.
I forget what the stat is in Seattle, but in
Can you imagine building like a contraption where it's like a 10-person wall? You put it down, you unfold it in front of them, and it's like almost like a shield
It's like a
where like
Roman-
it goes over the head and
Just
from the
describing
sides.
a Roman phalanx.
Yeah,
like,
and basically a Roman phalanx, and just start
Yeah.
pushing.
Yeah.
Right. That would be so. Come on, man. That
What
would
is
be so
called?
dope.
It starts with a T. There's a Roman phalanx, so they have the one shield on the front and the one shield up above them.
Yeah.
So it starts with a T. I forget what it's called, but it's a Roman formation. Yeah, it's.
That would be so cool.
I'll think of the word. I won't. I'll put it in. I'm not going to
A
put it in.
Tyreme?
No, it's like
That's a boat.
it's like a Tortuga type. It's not Tortuga, but it's like it's something like that.
Tuxedo.
I forget. It doesn't matter.
Anyways, I'm a fucking archaeologist. How do I fucking...
Yeah, and I'm a historian. I should know that too. Anyway, yeah, like, and again, I'm not saying like go out and like just punch the cops. Although, did you see that video of that guy punching cops?
No, I didn't.
There's this video of this. There's 3 cops around this guy, and they're trying to drag him down, and he just one by one punches each of them in the face, and then just walks away. You should put that clip in here too. It's amazing. Like I reposted that guy on my Instagram story, and I was like, "This is who I want to be when I grow up." And it's just this guy. He's just punching cops. He punches this lady cop in the face. He punches this dude cop, and he punches this other dude cop. And he gets like some solid, just like he like
haymakers.
He haymakers them, and then he just kind of like
walks
away, like power walks away, while they're just like, "Ugh." And I don't know what happened to him because like that's a fucking felony. Like don't punch a cop. Like they will shoot your ass if you punch a cop.
Yes,
they did not shoot him. But anyway, my point is that like. And this is going to, I guess, segue away from the No Kings protest and the uselessness of like liberal protests, and then into the this massive ICE, this wave against ICE deportations and these ICE protests that are happening around the country, specifically in LA. And some of the images and some of the videos coming out of this are so like heartwarming. Is like, yeah, people are like, the ICE is like detaining people, and then the crowd is surging forward and like ripping these people from the ICE agents and like rescuing them essentially. And that's my point, is if there are 70,000 of you in Seattle, you can do whatever you want. They can't stop you. So like if you wanted to free all those detainees at the ICE detention center, you could have. The National Guard and the Marines can't get there in time by the time you get downtown and free those prisoners, right? So like that's what you should do. And I am unequivocally advocating for crimes right now. So like fucking take that how you will, but like that, I mean, I'm just sick of like this fence sitting and this liberal kind of like pearl clutching and hand wringing. Like if you want something done, like that's what's going to happen. The world is going to steadily just decay into fascism. It's going to decay into more and more homelessness, more and more hunger, more and more people are going to die, more and more genocides, until you take those 70,000 people and turn them toward something that matters, right? If you take those 70,000 people and walk around in circles,
I've had this conversation with my mom quite a while ago, maybe like a year ago, and I'm just like, name a time that there was any reform, any major like action done where governments changed without violence?
Yeah, I can name some, but then I can tell you what happened immediately after, right? Like the Weimar Republic had a lot of progressive reforms, and then immediately fell into Nazism, right?
Yeah.
Like there are examples, but like that's when those weak progressive liberal reforms happen. That's what sows the seeds for strongman fascism, like fascist governments. Think like pre-fascist Italy, pre-Nazi Germany. These countries were like overhauling themselves post World War I. They had a bunch of liberal reforms, but they all fell to fascism. So like liberal reforms have never helped anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just putting a Band-Aid.
We know it doesn't work. The 1905 revolution in Russia, where Tsar Nicholas instituted the Duma, and he gave the Russians like a Congress essentially as part of this appeasement process. Those were liberal reforms that ultimately did nothing, and they're
still a king though.
Yeah, you still have the monarch, you still have the Tsar. It arguably made things worse, and then that led to the February and then the October Revolution of 1917. So liberal reforms will never accomplish anything meaningful. They will only prolong the inevitable. And again, this is where it kind of ventures into that accelerationist, and I want to make it clear, I'm not like pro-accelerationist. I'm not supporting that people go out and die or whatever, but there is a reality of the longer you kick the can down the road, the longer people are going to suffer.
Absolutely.
And
it's a lose-lose. The more drastic change that you're wanting is the more drastic actions that you have to take.
And that will help people.
Listen, if your country is in good standing, the economy is fantastic, all the shit is happening, right? And everything is going nice and swell, which, I mean, maybe like in the 50s, economically, I'm saying.
For some people.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like economically, for some people.
Economically, for white people, the 50s was like the best time in American history.
Yeah. And so there would be no reason for drastic change economically, right? For social change, there was definitely a necessity, right? And so, you don't need to be drastic because but when do you need to drastically change economically if everything is going great, right? In the moment. But like we've come to a point where nowhere on earth is anybody having actual living standards that are slowly increasing besides maybe China.
Yeah, I would argue that's communist or socialist countries.
Yeah.
Cuba, China.
Those are only places where there's an actual production.
And what's the lesson we can learn from that?
That's going up with the standard of living, with everybody's life expectancy going up. And so when you're living in those countries, you of course you're going to be like grateful, and there's no reason for drastic change. Why is there no outbursts in China all the time? Because there's no need for it. And so why is there all constant riots in LA? It's because everybody's fucking poor, right? And so the worse it's going to get, the more drastic things need to happen for that to change, because you're ending up you're digging yourself into a fucking cliff, right? At the bottom of a fucking tunnel, and that tunnel is fascism, right?
Yeah.
You can't walk back up that. You have to climb, right? So when we're protesting here, it's like just trying to climb up a fucking wall. It's like you can climb all you want, you're not getting out of it. Yeah. To actually get out of that wall, you need to get a pickaxe and literally onto the side of it.
Fight your way out.
Right? You got to fight your way out. And the same thing that's going on here in the US and just like liberal democracies in Europe and honestly most places on earth is like there needs to be changes that are drastic. And the only way to do that is, again, basically violence in one way or another. And I'm not saying go out around and start fucking shooting people.
Yeah, that's
I'm
not
saying
what we're
is
saying
like
at all.
you need your politicians, you need the people that control power. They need to feel threatened in some sort of way. And that doesn't mean I'm going to threaten to kill your life. It's like we're going to take your power.
Yeah.
Whether that means just like you're out of Congress and that's it, and then you're going to be in prison, or
the systemic power of like their place in society.
Yeah.
But not like physically. Like, there's so much we didn't talk about. Like, there's the all those Minnesota lawmakers that were assassinated. Dude, that was fucking wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah. A guy posing as police and going around just assassinating Democrat lawmakers, and like, that's just more MAGA wild.
It's already washed. Everybody already forgot about it, man.
Already forgot that there was literal targeted political assassinations of state lawmakers in Minnesota. Like four were targeted. I think 2 were killed.
Well, imagine this happened 10 years ago. This would have
imagine
been crazy.
that happened to a Republican. That we would be at war. The Democratic Party would be outlawed already if that had happened to Republicans.
Absolutely.
And that just again goes to the weakness and like uselessness of Democrats, is they're so fucking toothless that they will literally let themselves be assassinated and do nothing about it, and they will just cry about it instead of doing something about it. But I digress. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much more to talk about, dude. This is such a jam-packed week. It's one of those Lenin weeks where decades happen. This is one of those. You see the interview with Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson?
Yes, I watched a clip of it.
Have you seen the clip of him say that he hates communists? His father was tortured in communists. It was under Batista, sure, but I still hate communists. And it's like Batista was, if you don't know, Batista was the capitalist leader of
He was a dictator that was installed by the U.S. prior to Fidel Castro.
That Fidel Castro ousted and took over from and liberated the people of Cuba from. And so Ted Cruz is like, I hate Cuba. My father was tortured in Cuba, implying that it was a communist. And then he says, well, actually, I mean, he was tortured under Batista, which was the fucking fascist dictator prior to Fidel Castro, prior when they were a capitalist country, a slave-owning plantation country, I should add. It's just, I don't know. Ted Cruz also kind of said the quiet part out loud in that episode, or in that interview where he said that this fucking mouse thing, where he was like, we are striking Israel, or America is striking Israel, or excuse me, Iran. We're striking Iran. And Tucker Carlson was like, and I hate to agree with Tucker Carlson. I hate to be on the same side of Tucker Carlson.
I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here agreeing with Tucker Carlson.
I'm like nodding my head, everything. I'm like, yeah, Tucker, get him, Tucker. Fucker Carlson, dude. Finally, a broken clock is right once a day.
Yeah, and then after you get him, we're gonna throw you in the gulag, dude.
Yeah. You get him, and then we'll get you later. Yeah, we'll sell you. What is it? We'll sell the capitalists the rope that they will use to hang them, or whatever the famous line is. Anyway, yeah, that interview was just bonkers because it's like
so crazy, man.
Tucker Carlson was really grilling the fuck.
It's just
which
to
was
save ass, though. It's to save ass, man.
It's to save face, and I think because Tucker Carlson was burned by Fox News, and save ass. He was burned by Fox News, and he's bitter. But honestly, that was some of the most honest and genuine journalism I've seen in the last 20 years, and it was Tucker Carlson. It's yes, that's what every interview should be. That's what every debate should be. Yeah. It should be these moderators grilling the fuck out of these politicians and catching them in their lies, calling them out on their lies. What do you mean? You said earlier it wasn't America. It was Iran or is Israel striking. Now you're saying America striking. Which is it? Yeah. Really calling them out on that. And again, I don't want to support Tucker Carlson in any way. I hate that I'm supporting Tucker Carlson, but I really liked what I saw with that aggressive style of interviewing these politicians. Every interview with the politician should be a struggle for them. You should really put the pressure on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You want us to
everybody's
vote for you.
livelihood is in their hands.
Yeah, you are literally supposed to be the representative in charge of. Well, he's 1/2 in charge of Texas. He's 1/100th in charge of this country. He is one of the most powerful people in the world. A U.S. senator is arguably one of the most powerful people in the world, right? If a sitting senator goes to visit other countries and stuff, they're honored as dignitaries. You know what I mean?
The diplomat.
They need
presidential.
If they
seat,
can't
whatever.
answer these questions, then they don't deserve that position. And so you should be able to answer the population of Iran. He was what's the population of Iran? He's I don't know. How I don't know. And it's no, you're talking about bombing this country. You don't even know how many people live in that. How many people are in Tehran? How many people are in Iran? Doesn't know anything. I just love that interview.
I just love that he put him on the spot.
Really put him on the spot. Yeah, fuck Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a fucking absolute fascist. He is the worst person in the world. He is a grifter to the highest degree. He is despicable. Some of the stuff he spouts: white nationalist, racist, homophobic, transphobic rhetoric. He is absolutely a despicable, vile human being who deserves. He deserves the day he whatever. I'm gonna bleep that part out. But he did a good job putting the screws to Ted Cruz. That's it. That's all I can say.
The fucking state of the world that we're living in. Where it's
what
wow,
bizarro universe
good job,
we're in.
Tucker Carlson. I guess.
Is there anything else we want to talk about? Anything else we forgot, dude? We got a good segment on Iran, Israel. We got a good segment on the No Kings protest, and then this ICE situation. So I would encourage you, get out there and if nothing else, go to Costco and buy a bunch of water, and then go deliver that down to these protests. It's hot. It's June. Go give them some water. Go buy some granola bars and protein bars and meat sticks. Deliver them out there. Hand out if you don't want to be. There was a really cool post I saw. It was D&D classes. Excuse me. It was D&D classes for protests. If you want to be the tank is on the front lines holding the riot shield or whatever. And it's if you want to be the healer, it's passing out water or whatever. So it was all D&D classes and then how they relate to protests. It was just very funny. That was cute.
I can see that.
Yeah. So
the magicians are the ones throwing.
Yeah, the mages are throwing. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. It was great. So
the shield, the fucking defense is the shield of umbrella.
Yeah. And it's what was it? The rogues are going back slashing cops' tires behind the scenes and stuff. Those are the rogues letting tires out of the car and stuff.
It's pretty smart actually.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway. I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about? I hogged the spotlight on this one. I talked a lot.
No, you got a lot to say.
I was very passionate about Democrats and protesting. I'm just tired of beating around the bush. Things happen when you light police precincts on fire. if you want change, that's what you have to do. If you want change, you have to burn down buildings and burn down police cars. And like, that's the unfortunate reality of it. Don't get a permit. Don't tell them where you're going to be. It's easier for them to defend one protest of 10,000 than 10 protests of 1,000. So organize, break up, get organized, get a fucking ham radio and communicate with each other. Get like an encrypted frequency.
By the way, that's not a ham radio.
It is a ham radio.
It's not.
It is. It's not illegal for me to own a ham radio without a license. It's illegal for me to broadcast on a ham radio without a license.
Okay. I was just looking out for you, bro.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And I'm also studying to get my ham radio license. It's like $15 to get a ham radio license. So like, I'm just gonna get one.
Yeah, listen, guys.
My point is that like, you have to get organized. This anarchy, like, just circle like that's no different than liberalism of just like mutual aid for the sake of mutual aid is great. Protesting for the sake of protesting is great, fine, but it's not actually going to like disrupt any kind of balance of power unless it's organized, unless it's a vanguard party. So get organized and get aggressive and get like serious about change, or like then stop complaining about it. You don't have a right to like, I don't know, complain about this shit if you're not willing to like step up and like do something, which leads me to my following point, which I've made before. But buy a gun, train with a gun, get comfortable with weapons, get comfortable with first aid, get comfortable with radio, get comfortable with like just all manner of like preparedness. Isn't all just about firearms, but it's a lot to do with firearms. And I am fully supportive of people like, you know, getting comfortable and like proficient with firearms, like, because it's just an insane political stance to be like, no, to acknowledge that the police are a violent fascist force, to acknowledge that ICE is modern day Gestapo. Liberals are calling ICE Gestapo, and then meanwhile saying, well, yeah, but they should be the only ones with guns, right? Yeah. People shouldn't have guns. Only Gestapo should have guns. Like, do you hear yourself? That's like a liberal point of view, is that ICE is Gestapo, Trump is a Nazi, but they should be the only ones. These state thugs should be the only people with guns. What a fucking brain dead take, dude.
Absolutely.
Like, no, gun control is racist. Gun control is homophobic. Gun control is transphobic. If you believe in gun control, you are hurting minorities and people of color. And it's as simple as that. And I know that's a pretty strong stance. That's a hot take, but it's true. And you're dumb if you disagree. Thank you.
Because I'm fucking dumb.
Well, there's obviously nuance there. There's nuance there. There's subtlety there. But by and large, if you were just like a ban weapons kind of person,
I don't want to ban weapons.
You are harming marginalized communities because police have guns, ICE have guns, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like like you said, there's a nuance with gun control. Like, of course, I don't believe in banning all guns. I just believe in like, hey, put some. If he bought a fucking AK, make sure he's on a registry that he has an AK.
Sure, and also like I don't have a problem with waiting lists. Washington has a 10-day waiting period for guns. Fine, whatever. Yeah. I hate that Washington banned AKs and ARs. Washington banned all semi-automatic magazine-fed rifles, which is dumb. Like, you can't buy an AR-15 in Washington. And it's like, well, that's why, I mean, I don't know. We're not get into that, but it's dumb. But like, fine, a waiting period, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I have a problem with like a registry per se. I don't know. I don't have a problem with showing proficiency. You should have to pass a class, get a weapons permit, take a safety course, show that you are range qualified and you can perform some basic like functions of a weapon. Should be able know how to manipulate a weapon, know how to fire a weapon.
Yes, that's
operate
what I'm
a safety.
about.
Like, you know, you get a driving test.
I think you should also pass a psychology test. If you're
a
sociopath or not.
I don't have a problem with that.
If you're mentally ill, I mean, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not trying to be ableist, but like, there's a certain point where like you're not.
Well, sure, yeah, because that's like
you're not
safe.
Thing. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, oh,
yeah, for self-harm and stuff, no problem with that too. Yeah, I think that
or harming others.
That raises some problems with like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's some like historical like systemic medicinal racism implied there.
Yeah,
because
but this is also not the 50s and 60s.
But it's also not the 50s and 60s. But there is still like having a spouse who is in medicine. Like, they didn't have what was the stat? They didn't have black skin suture kits until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because we're not in the 50s and 60s doesn't mean that medicine is still not racist.
100%.
So like
100%.
Yeah, so I there is like some biases with like mental health when it comes to like black women are largely like today. The stats of black women have the highest, I think it's the highest like mortality rate in childbirth because they're just not taken seriously. When they say they're experiencing pain, they're just complaining or whatever.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So, I meant like a psychopathy test, right?
Sure. Yeah. Like police have to take certain like when you're involved, I think when you're involved in an officer involved shooting, police have to take like they have to get like screened for mental health. Like they have to like go through screening and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not helping because like police
No,
are
it's-
continuing to shoot people left and right. But like, I have no problem with that. I think
It's just like if they ask some scenarios. If you were put in a scenario, what would you do? And if it'd be like run away, who cares, fuck them, or something like that. If you're seen to be like you have no empathy towards other people,
like, oh, I want to defend my property. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I want to shoot that guy for taking my TV. And it's like, okay, well, you know that person's life is worth more than a TV, right? Like, those two things are not equal.
That's
You
what
know
I'm
what I
saying.
mean?
It's
Yeah.
like, why would you shoot the guy for your TV?
Yeah, so that's another thing too. Is like responsible gun ownership meanings like always walk away. Like
Yeah.
always.
This is like last
that's
fucking
like
resort.
it's like what is it? It's run, hide, fight, right? Like that's the order of operations in any kind of situation like that. You always run if you can run. You always hide if you can hide. You only fight as a very last resort.
Exactly.
Like
and if
carry a
somebody's
gun
first
and-
thing is like fight, and I'll
Yeah.
be like, I don't know if you should have.
don't
a gun.
brandish weapon. Yeah, if you want to defend yourself, if you like daydream about it, then you shouldn't have a gun. Then that's a problem because like you're that's questionable.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you
I
know,
have no problem with
that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That to me is gun control.
Sure.
Right. When
Yeah.
We're controlling like who the fuck should
I
have
think
these things.
arbitrarily banning certain weapons because they're scary and black, like a black AR-15, like that's silly. Because like, you know, my Glock 17 here holds 17 rounds, right? 18 if you have one in the chamber. I have a 33 round magazine in there for this. So I have a 33 round magazine for this Glock 17. That means that this Glock 17, in theory, fires more rounds than an AR-15 with a 30 round magazine, right? Which is banned in Washington. Technically, my 33 round magazine is banned in Washington too. I just had it before the ban went into effect, so that's whatever. But my point is this: is that I have 33 rounds in a 33 round Glock 17 or 17 with as it currently is. To the 30 or 20 that are in an AR-15, there is largely not a lot of difference in that. I mean, ballistically, a 5.56 round moves faster and is easier to control from that AR-15 platform than a Glock 17 pistol is. But at close range, somebody who's proficient with both, like, it's not a lot of difference, really, in these 17 versus that 20. So if you want to ban that gun, but not ban this gun, then it's just arbitrary. It's just you're just picking and choosing things because they're in the medium, because they're scary looking, and because you don't understand them. And that's what I have a problem with, is like people banning guns for not understanding them. And it's the same argument I would say that people would say like, well, you're banning women's bodies without really even understanding what like an ectopic pregnancy is, or like what, like, you know, like all of these bans that are happening for abortions and stuff, and these lawmakers clearly don't know anything about a woman's body. They can't even find the clit, and they're banning like abortion and shit. They shouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
But I think also the flip side of that is you also shouldn't ban guns if you don't know anything about them. Like, you shouldn't just arbitrarily pick and choose guns to ban because you think they look scary without, like, you know, like, seriously, in some states, AR-15 is banned, but like a Mini 14 isn't, and it's like almost the exact same gun. It's the same caliber, same shoulder fired, box magazine fed, semi-automatic rifle. One is black and one has a wooden stock. So the wooden stock
what
one
would
is
you
less
say
scary.
about like an automatic weapon then?
Well, I have no problem with automatic weapons because they're already heavily regulated. You have to jump through so many hoops. It's like multi-month up to a year-long waiting list. You have to pay a federal tax stamp, to say nothing of the weapon itself being tens of thousands of dollars. So, like, it's practically impossible to get as it is. That's one of the most heavily controlled firearm things in the world, or in America. Silenced, short barrel, like sawed-off shotguns, short barrel rifles, silencers, and then fully automatic. Those three things are classified as NFA items in the National Firearms Act of whatever, 1930 or whatever. And so they're like heavily regulated.
Where do you cut off the line for what kind of weapon somebody shouldn't have?
Like, what do you mean? Like a tank?
Oh, okay. That one's an obvious. You should have.
Yeah, anything explosive, sure. I think,
Okay.
but I don't think it's a problem to have it. Like,
What about incendiary rounds?
Yeah, no, I don't like I don't know, like dragon's breath for shotguns. Yeah, I don't think anything like that should be allowed. I mean, I guess I don't really have a.
What like a Barrett, like 50 cal
I don't have a
sniper?
problem with a Barrett. I've always wanted a Barrett. I want a 50 cal. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, but why do you need it? Why like also like don't you think that's like, what if somebody like uses it to like kill somebody else like from like a long range or whatever?
Yeah, I mean their purpose is like anti material and anti like vehicle and stuff. Like that's a Barrett is like if you hit an engine block with a Barrett, it's like gonna take out a car.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like that's like where do you value is like that's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, because
compared to like, oh, I just want.
I see your point of like, yeah, it's just cool to own one and I want one, but like I don't own a Barrett, and because I couldn't afford a Barrett, they're like $8,000.
Yeah.
So like that's another thing too. Is it's like, I don't know. I don't really have.
I'm just trying to pick your mind. It's
no,
like,
I see your point. Like, yeah, no, that's
where's that line of like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have.
Well, I mean, that I would still consider that like up to 50 or what is it? Is it whatever Lapua 3? Well, that's 50's bigger, I think, than whatever Lapua round. I forget what it's called, but I'm not like a big long range guy. I don't do a lot of long range or like high caliber shooting like that. Yeah, I would consider that like the limit, right? Like anything bigger than that, a 50 cal, that's probably the limit as far as ballistically like what a civilian should own. Because anything bigger than that is like you're moving into like Gauss rounds or whatever, right? Like I don't know the ballistics of something that big after 50 cal. I'm not an expert in that, but like I think that would be probably the limit as a 50.
What about like ridiculously large extended magazines? Say you somehow
I have a 100-round drum for my AR-15. Like,
well, what I'm saying, so like for example, say
like
you obtain an automatic weapon, right? You went through all the hoops, and now you want to get like I don't know how big the drums go. Let's say the 150.
Yeah, I mean,
so you now have an automatic weapon with 150.
Yeah.
Fucking magazine, right? Do you see where like I'm coming from? Where like, well, why like. If that somehow got into like somebody's hands,
I mean, it already is though. I mean, like these things are legal. Like you can go to any gun show in America and buy a 100-round drum mag for an AR-15. Like,
yeah, but they're not automatic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but it is easy to get it. Well, it's possible to get an automatic AR-15, and it's very easy to get a 100-round mag. Just combine those two.
Because there's nothing stopping a guy with like a 150-round mag going into a crowd like a protest, like a fucking Nazi, and just spraying that in like 5 seconds. 150 bullets and killing like 100 people in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? What's going to stop some fucking Nazi from like just mowing down entire protesters, changing the mag off and just keep going?
Yeah.
Kill like 500 people.
Well, I mean, why hasn't happened yet?
Well, I'm not saying that's going to it's because it's hard to get a fully automatic weapon, and it's also probably fairly hard to get that big of a drum magazine. But if it was
the
legal,
drum mag's easy to get.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're like legal. They're just,
well,
like I said, I have 100.
I just don't trust Nazis with guns.
Well, sure. Right? Yeah, I mean, what is that?
What is what?
A giant bee or something. I agree. I don't trust Nazis with guns either, which is why you should have to pass that psych test. Like, which is why, like, I think a political ideology is a little sketchy.
Yeah, but if we're talking about a test in this system here,
yeah, but I would also argue that the Nazis are the ones who already have the guns. So like right wing people have guns. Like this is just they do.
Yeah,
they have. There's more guns in America than there's. What is it like 400? What is it? 400,000 guns in America? Or no, 4 million guns in America?
It's like
400 million guns. I forget what the stat is, but it's like
I think there's almost like 2 guns per person.
Yeah, it's like 1 1/3 gun per person or whatever. And like those are almost exclusively owned by the people on politically that identify with on the right.
Yeah,
they have the guns. If they took their like extremism one step further, it would be like hunting season for trans folks or for black folks, right? So like. My point to all this is that like to once they have all of these weapons and they're not out like opening fire in protests yet, but we have seen increasing numbers of political violence, like where people are driving into protests and not being charged with a crime. I forget what city it was. Maybe it was in Florida. A Hispanic man was walking. He was wearing some kind of tactical gear, and he was wearing I think he just had a pistol on his hip, or maybe he had a rifle on him, and somebody opened fire at him and hit somebody random because a right-wing person or like a liberal person saw a leftist with a gun, opened fire on him unprovoked, shot an innocent bystander, and they charged the guy with the gun with murder. Not the guy who shot the person, the guy who he was shooting at. He's the one who they arrested.
Yeah,
because they're calling it his fault. And Arizona has a similar law. What is the law in Arizona? If a cop shoots somebody in a car and they kill a passenger in a car for like a traffic stop, the driver is charged with murder for
no, that's just fuck.
It's your fault I was here in the first place. It's like I wouldn't have shot that person if you hadn't have sped or whatever.
Yeah.
So like you charge the driver with the murder.
That's just crazy.
And that's what happened in Florida.
Yeah.
And I'll get the facts straight on that. But I think it was Hispanic man was charged with murder because he was carrying a gun and somebody fired at him, killed somebody else, and they charged him with murder, not the person who did the shooting.
Goddamn.
Because he was like the instigator. And so it's like
crazy.
the right wing people are already doing shit like that.
Yeah.
Not left-wing people. So I don't see as like removing the ability for left-wing people to defend themselves as a viable strategy to that. Like that's not a viable answer. Taking away their ability to buy guns while they already have guns. Like the right already has guns, saying, well, now the left, you can't get any more guns. Now you have to go up against the right with the guns. I just don't see that as like a viable strategy. I see your point where there's certainly contradictions in there. There's certainly extremes, and it needs to be agreed upon. Like, what is too far? Should people have like fully automatic 50 cals, whatever? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Should people be able to have these like anti-tank, anti-personnel like 50 cal rifles? Should people be able to have 150 round drum mags on fully automatic weapons? I don't know. I'm not the person to answer that. I would say yes, but I'm not. But I'm an extremist when it comes to that shit. So like, I think that there needs to be less gun registration or regulations for law-abiding good people. And again, this comes back to like capitalism in general, is you wouldn't have gun violence under these circumstances if things, let me have that, fuck that sentence up. Gun violence happens because of the material conditions, right? Not because of the guns. And
99% of times, and there's that one psychopath.
Yeah, there's always the one psychopath. But I mean, like we have an isolationist country where we have no access to mental health, where we're living stressed paycheck to paycheck. That's why these people break, and that's why they commit these crimes.
Yeah,
they're not committing these crimes because they just want to, because we have guns. Because other countries have almost as many guns as we do, where they have like 0 mass shootings.
Yeah,
it's because we have no social safety nets, no familial relations. We're isolated. We're alone. We're depressed. We're living under extreme pressure of late stage capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism is to blame for all of these things, not the guns.
Yeah.
So I would say don't attack the guns, attack the capitalism. Fix the actual disease, not the symptom.
Yeah.
That's where I come from that's where I'm from when it comes to gun control.
I get it.
And I get that I'm in the minority here, even among I think a lot of leftists. People I'm probably like, well, not among leftists, but among like the people that are left of center or center or left of center, they're typically like pro gun control. And I'm in the minority there. I'm there's very few gun control like measures that I agree with.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe that's because you come from Arizona too.
Arizona and Louisiana, very gun friendly places. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't grow up around guns. My dad fought in war. My grandfather fought
call off work on Monday or Tuesday and come shooting with me and my friend.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
we're taking all these pistols and rifles out.
Shit, man. Yeah, like again, I'm not against guns or people having guns. I'm just like, I don't know where to draw the line. I haven't made my mind where the line is drawn.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I want evidence based, like what would help, what wouldn't help, And for me, it's like to a certain extent is like, what is over the top, what isn't. I want people to be able to enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
I want people to enjoy themselves without thinking about, is a psychopath going to be like fucking walking down the street and start mowing down people.
All I want is a couple Glocks, a couple AR-15s, AK-47 with some 30-round mags. Not even fully automatic, because like this is like fully automatic's not like a real thing in like real combat, and like I'm not a veteran, but like from what I understand, like in the military, in the army, you're not really using full auto like anyway. Like no soldier in like
you're on
semi-auto. Yeah, you're on semi-auto. It's like you don't just dump your magazine, because also in the movies it's not like an M4 dumps a magazine in like 1 second.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's just and you're done. Like, because they only carry 20 or 30 rounds and it shoots really fast, and so like you just don't go full auto really. So like I don't know, full auto is purely just like for rich white guys to like get their dick hard while they shoot an Uzi in the desert or whatever. Yeah. Like it's not really a practical thing.
I feel people more likely use like 3 or 5 round bursts and stuff like
that. If that, yeah. I mean, like real shooters stay on semi-auto with like, you know what I mean? Like if you're training or whatever, you're using an AR-15 with like, you just get a decent sight, some decent, a decent gun, and like you just go semi-auto. So like I don't really care. That's like all I want. I'm a simple man.
One last question for you.
I want a couple AR-15s, a backup, a couple pistols. I'm happy.
One last question for you on this topic.
Sure.
What do you think about people using like AR-15s, or not even AR-15s, just more like high-powered rifles to go hunting?
There's applications, boar, coyote, like pigs. Those are what you use AR-15s for that round of 5.
I'm talking about like hunting to like eat.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like or like,
because like I feel like
I don't know if any animals that you eat that you really use a 223 round for, like, which is the caliber of an AR-15. They're usually more used for pest control. They're usually more used for coyotes.
That is a whole different situation.
Yeah. You don't really need them for hunting per se.
So that's what I'm saying.
You need them for like hunting adjacent activities, right? Like if you own a farm and you got to clear out like coyotes or something, you need it. That's what it's for.
Well, you're trying to make them burst, right?
Well, they don't burst. That's like a thing Democratic politicians say. Yeah,
I know.
It's just a fast
you're trying to fucking just obliterate them, right?
I don't have a 223 on me.
Yeah,
but ballistically, a a 9mm out of a pistol is a much bigger round than a 5.56 223 out of an AR-15.
Yeah.
An AR-15 has the diameter of a .22 caliber pistol. It's a very small round. It just moves very fast.
Yeah.
It moves 1.5-ish times faster than this bullet. So like that's the only real difference, is that it's speed. It has a lot more penetration because it's so fast.
Yeah.
But it's a really small round ballistically, and that's another reason, like, not to get into the history of like the Iraq and Afghan war, is like that's why a lot of people like were calling for heavier caliber weapons or in the early days in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, because they were up against AK-47s, which shoot 7.62 by 39. It's a much beefier round. AKs shoot a much heavier, bigger round than a 223 does, and so like soldiers were like, our weapons are inadequate compared to these AKs because ballistically it's a relatively small round. It just moves really fast, and so it's really good for taking out like small game predators, like
absolutely.
coyotes
You're trying to
and
kill
wild
them,
pigs
like
and
you're
stuff.
trying to kill them, and you're trying to make sure that they end.
Yeah.
Right. So because like I've seen people like use like heavier rifles, and I don't know what the rifle is, right? But they're like heavier rifles, and they're trying to like hunt down deer, and I'm just like,
you wouldn't use those. Yeah, you wouldn't use an AR-15.
yeah,
for a deer.
that seems a bit excessive, right?
Well, it's just not big enough. It's
Yeah.
a deer is a big animal. It's like
Yeah.
400 to 600 whatever pound animal. The last deer I took down, I used a 270, which is still like on the smaller side. That's a 30-06 or maybe a 308, 30-06. Like these are like 30 caliber weapons. These are like basically like 7.62. This is what an AK shoots, is roughly the 30 caliber.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into like the science of ballistics, but a 7.62 by 39 is just a shorter caliber to like what the American NATO 7.62 is a 7.62 by 51 is like, that's a 30 caliber round. So that's like the American NATO version, and the 5.56, the AR-15, is the NATO version of like a rifle round. Compare that to the 7.62 by 39, which is what an AK shoots. It's ballistically they're just all different weapon or bullets, but a 30 caliber is enough to take down a deer. It does enough damage, like heart and lungs, with a good shot to the heart. Like the last deer I shot, sorry if you're anti-hunting or whatever, but the last deer I shot was a few years ago, but I will argue it was a perfect shot. You go right, kind of into their shoulder blades, and I went through both lungs and the heart, and the deer just dropped, right? And like it was a quick, I mean, I had to track him in the woods for like 30 feet, right, as he like kind of limped, but he bled out very fast. He died almost instantly. Because it was a good shot, because I'm a good shot. It was a good weapon. It was a Remington 700 firing a 270 round. I had a nice Leopold optic. It was a good shoot. It was a good shot, and that's fine. A 223 wouldn't do enough damage, and it would just go through those organs and like leave a very, very small hole. Because again, it's a 22 diameter bullet. It's a very small bullet. I don't think like you probably could kill a deer if you like shot it enough times, or like shot it in the head, but that's really inhumane and also like not efficient. Like you don't aim for the head when you're deer hunting. You aim for the heart and lungs. So if you hit them right behind their shoulder blade, it goes through all heart. If they're broadside to you, you hit them right behind their shoulder blade, it goes through their heart and lungs, and they'll just drop. That's where you hit a deer with the arrow, with a shotgun, with like a slug or whatever, or a high caliber rifle. Nice. And a 223 5.56 AR-15 just isn't really designed for that. That's not its purpose.
All right, guys.
This has been Hunting Talk with Ty.
All right, guys. Well, you can see that we talk about some serious fucking topics around here that probably not only demonetize us on YouTube or whatever we place our stuff on, but also
I don't think we'll get demonetized.
But also might put us on some lists, right?
That part will probably, yeah.
Yeah. So please, if you ever have the chance, share, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to get our content out, because YouTube is not going to push it out. YouTube hasn't pushed anything we've placed out in quite a while.
YouTube hates us.
Yeah, they do. And so please, if you love our content, do your due diligence and help brothers out. It was a good time having you here today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Sorry for the tech difficulties.
No, they won't know that. That part will be, I guess, cut maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And yeah, so don't forget that we have a free Patreon. It's going to be in the link below. We also have a Discord that you can join. We have our content on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter.
Revolutionary Rhetoric, wherever you get your socials.
Absolutely. It's all going to be below.
Email us if you want one of those patches. Email us, revolutionaryrhetoric@gmail.com. Give us your information. Just show us that you're some kind of follower or subscriber. Or better yet, if you want one of those patches, leave a 5-star review on the podcast, your podcast app of choice. Those reviews really help us out when we're trying to get our content out to other people. Sharing, commenting, and subscribing and liking is how the YouTube pushes the videos in the algorithm. Leaving high star reviews on podcast apps, that's how those push it out to more. That's how they get recommended. So we appreciate the love there. We talked about Patreon, Discord, all of our socials. Email us for a patch. Go out there, get organized, join some mutual aid organizations. Give go help out your local community. And if you're out there protesting, stay safe. Definitely wear a mask. Wear a black mask. Wear sunglasses. Cover any tattoos. Wear black clothing. Everything should be nondescript. You should have nothing that's like easily identifiable to police or law enforcement or anything. So be safe out there.
Nice talking to you guys.
Bye.
Bye.